Part 29. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 281. How come you're not dead? Miyamoto Hideki raised his head and looked at Suren in shock. The power of Tianju's sudden explosion would seriously injure even their president without any precautions. Not only was this man not dead, he was not even injured at all, which he couldn't understand. What makes you think he can kill me? Suren had already opened the wormhole and left here before Miyazaki Hyde blew himself up. The explosion didn't affect him at all. Suren stretched out his right hand and shook it gently. Now, you can go and accompany him. Before Miyamoto Hideki could react, his body exploded like a watermelon. Beside the mountain lake, broken limbs were strewn on the ground, and there were wailing sounds everywhere. Miyazaki Hyde's self-destruction did not hurt Suren, but instead killed thousands of Sakura people who were watching. At this time, a figure flashed over at a very fast speed from a distance. After taking a look at the situation at the scene, he did not take a second look, but stared at Yamanaka Lake, whose water level had dropped by half. This person is Yamada Shino, the Lord of Honshu Castle. Yamada Shino felt relieved after confirming that Yamata no Orokai had not been discovered or alarmed. Glancing at Suren on the edge of the explosion pit, Yamada no Buno did not go over, but turned around and returned to the original path. The strength of the city lord of Honshu City is not as weak as shown in the data. He seems to be a master. Suren had read Yamada Shino's information in Honshu Castle's information, and it showed that this person was an out-and-out drunkard. But the scene just now made Suren feel that this person was definitely not that simple. But it doesn't matter, his strength or weakness has nothing to do with him anyway. Now that Yamanakako has been seen, and the area around it has been completely destroyed, Suren has no intention of visiting anymore, so he returns to the city alone. When other professionals in Honshu City arrived, they realized that there was no Yamata no Orokai. There was simply someone fighting here. After inquiring about some of the wounded, I found out that there was a conflict between 3 of the 8 generals of the Shuiyu Society and a boy from the Dragon Kingdom, which led to the war. The 3 of them didn't say anything, but the young man walked away intact. This matter was quickly reported. The people of Shuiyu Society did not care about the lives of their compatriots and killed thousands of people innocently. It was unanimously criticized by the media and the public. However, no matter how noisy everyone was, Shuiyu Society had no intention of apologizing. They know that no matter how much trouble these people make, they can't do anything about them, so they don't bother to pay attention to them. 4 of the 8 generals died, and the remaining 4 were kneeling together to discuss countermeasures. Miyazaki-kun and the others are too presumptuous. They dare to cause trouble for the other party before they have fully investigated their strength. Death will not be a pity. It's just that now our Shuiyu Society has completely become enemies with the people of the Dragon Kingdom. The Yamata no Orokai must fight for it, and the other party must also come for the Yamata no Orokai. How should we deal with it next? Please give me some advice. After the eldest of the 4 finished speaking, he looked at the other 3. Although the 4 of them were all at level 8 or above, they had given up the idea of going there again after knowing that all 3 of Hideo Miyazaki were dead, and that Tensei's self-destruction did not kill each other. No matter how strong they are, they can't be much stronger than Miyazaki Hyde, so they are not sure they can deal with Suren. And their personalities are not as impulsive as Hideo Miyazaki, otherwise he would have gone with them long ago. This revenge must be avenged, but not now. The other party is extremely powerful. If the president doesn't come out, we will definitely not be his opponent. Well, I agree with Lao-san's suggestion. Only the president can compare with that person. But I checked this person's information, and I was shocked and puzzled by some of it. Oh? Tell me. The other 3 looked at the person who spoke. This person's name is Suren. He is a newly awakened young man in Donghai City, Donghua Prefecture, Dragon Kingdom. His personal record is really surprising. I won the first place in the Donghua Prefecture exam, helped the local government of the Dragon Kingdom wipe out a rebel city, was offered a reward of $5 billion and is still alive and kicking, and not long ago won the Dragon Kingdom National Trial Competition first. Logically speaking, he cannot be so powerful. So, what do you mean? I still think this person is a disguised old man from the Dragon Kingdom. If he is really an 18-year-old boy, it would be terrible. Several people nodded after hearing this. But one person suddenly asked, "What if he is really the Suren you said?" The room was quiet for a long time before someone let out a breath and said, "Unless he is the chosen one." Inside Honshu Castle Japanese-style hotel. The little girl at the front desk wiped her eyes in surprise when she saw Suren walking back slowly. She thought that this man from the Dragon Kingdom would definitely die in the hands of the three generals of the Shuiyu Society. Unexpectedly, the other party came back alive and seemed to be fine. If he can come back, it proves that the three people who went to find him must be dead. At this time, she was almost having stars in her eyes. She was so young, handsome, and powerful, which made her feel a sense of admiration. In this world, force is respected, and no one likes the strong. When Suren went upstairs, the little girl immediately took out her mobile phone and sent messages to several of her good sisters. "There is a handsome and fierce little brother living in our store. Yesterday he killed Kamino-kun of Suijutsu Society. Today he seems to have killed 3 of the 8 generals." Someone quickly responded to her message. "Michiko, you must be lying, right? How could someone kill the 8 generals of Suijutsu Society? And there are 4 of them. Yes, Miyazaki-kun of Suijutsu Society is my idol. I don't know when I can meet him. It's really exciting." When Michiko saw this message, she sent a wry smile. "You may never see your idol again, he's one of the 4 who died." "Impossible. Who can kill Miyazaki-kun? You can watch today's news. There will definitely be reports later." "I do not believe." Michiko looked at it and shook her head without continuing to argue with her. More than an hour later, the news report came out. The 3 generals of Suijutsu Society besieged the strong man of Ichiryu Kingdom. As a result, all 3 of them died. Miyazaki hides self-destruction before his death even killed 7,564 onlookers. Shuiyu Society must give an explanation to the families of the victims. Seeing this news, Michiko's eyes glowed with admiration for Suren. "Michiko, Miyazaki-kun is really dead, woo. I told you and you still don't believe me. Is the man you are talking about still in your hotel? I want to see him. Can your grandma let you come to Honshu City?" "Of course, she's not at home. She won't know that I sneaked out. Don't worry." Michiko's lips twitched after reading this, "But your grandma is in Honshu City." But she knew that whatever the other party decided would be accomplished by all means, so she did not try to persuade the other party. "I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 282. The next day, Suren did not go out again, but stayed in the hotel and lay down. Now most people in Honshu City know that a strong man from the Dragon Kingdom lives in the Zephyr Hotel. Not only did he kill the 4 generals of Shuiyu Society, but he still dared to stay and not leave. Originally, everyone thought that Shuiyu Society would launch a crazy revenge. As a result, nothing happened during the day, and there was no movement at all from Shuiyu Society. Everyone speculated that Shuiyu was either holding back a big move, or was afraid of being beaten and did not dare to trouble others again. After all, people who survived that day said that this man killed the generals of Shuiyu Society one by one like killing piglets, and they were unable to fight back. The powerful self-destruction did not hurt the opponent. Although the accommodation in the city was originally crowded, the Heffen Hotel unexpectedly had a few rooms available. Those rooms are all next to 301, and they are also next to the room where Suren is. They were still a little afraid of disturbing this big shot, so they simply lived on the street instead of living next door to Suren. But the next morning, a girl of 17 or 18 years old came to the Heffen Hotel very boldly, and ran straight outside room 301 and knocked on the door. When Michiko wanted to stop her, it was too late, so she could only run over and hold her while she was thinking of countermeasures. The door opened. Suren looked at the two little girls at the door and said doubtfully, "Is there a problem?" Michiko hurriedly replied, "Oh, that's right, we wanted to ask if you need any services." Just when Suren was about to answer, the girl next to Michiko asked loudly, "Are you the senior who killed the 4 generals of Shuiyu society?" When the girl said this, her two smart eyes stared at Suren without blinking. "Yes, what's wrong?" Suren gave her a strange look. In the past 2 days, when others saw him, they were so frightened that they walked away quickly. Not only was this girl not afraid of him, but she seemed to be very excited. "Is it really you? You are too awesome. And you are still so young. Can I come into your room and sit down?" "Who are you?" Suren was even more confused. Why did he feel like he had met a little fangirl? "My name is Musa, you can also call me Lee Musa. My father and grandma are from the Dragon Kingdom just like you. I like strong men like you best." Thank you for your like, but I have something else to do and I don't have time to play with you. Goodbye." Suren quickly closed the door and walked back into the room. Today is the night of the full moon, and Suren has to prepare. He doesn't have time to play with this little fangirl. Even after being turned away, Muesli was not discouraged. Instead, he pulled Michiko aside and asked her to tell her about Suren's deeds. Michiko was so frightened that her heart almost jumped out of her chest. She patted her chest and said, "My dear Miss Musa, can you tell me first about such an exciting thing next time?" "Fortunately, Senior Suren doesn't care, otherwise I would be killed by you." The two held hands and walked downstairs. As soon as they reached the front lobby, 4 women in green clothes with a peony flower on their sleeves walked in. After seeing Musa, the 4 of them bowed and said, "Miss, my mother-in-law wants to see you." When Musa saw these people, it was like a ball deflated. "It's so boring. You guys discovered it so quickly and I haven't even spoken to Senior Suren yet. Miss, please, don't embarrass us." I know, it's so annoying." Musa reluctantly followed a few people outside, but did not forget to turn around and say to Michiko, "Michiko, take good care of Senior Suren, I will come back to find him." Michiko put a hand on her forehead, feeling speechless. "You should take care of yourself first. If you are caught so soon, you will definitely be punished." In the castle lord's palace, Yamada Shino stepped back, walked into a small room with hidden secrets, and started a video call. The video screen flashed, and a middle-aged man wearing a crown and royal robes appeared in the video. Upon seeing this, Yamada Shino knelt down and bowed. "My lord, I have met His Majesty the Emperor." "Well, let's get up. How are you doing?" Yamada Shino stood up and reported. "Back to your Majesty, the man named Suren from the Dragon Kingdom suddenly appeared in Honshu City. He actually helped us kill the 4 generals of Shui Wu. Yama no Orakai has not been exposed, everything is going smoothly." "Oh? Has Suren checked?" "After checking, there is indeed this person in Long Kingdom, but..." "Just what?" "It's just that his age does not match his revealed strength. I suspect that this person is disguised by a strong man from the Dragon Kingdom, but I haven't found out why he used Na Suren's identity. Don't worry about him. Your goal this time is to eradicate the Blue Flower Society and Shuiyu Society. I have secretly sent 3 capital ministers to help you. As long as you can complete this plan perfectly, you will be the #1 hero of our Sakura kingdom, and the position of Prime Minister belongs to you. After hearing this, Yamada Shino knelt down again and said, "Thank you to His Majesty the Emperor for trusting me. I swear to be loyal to His Majesty to the death." Well, I'm waiting for good news. The video hung up, and Yamada Shino slowly stood up, a glimmer of excitement flashing in his eyes. Both Sakura Country and Dragon Country have the same hidden dangers. One is that the growing communes threaten local governments. One is a family that dominates the state and city where it is located. However, the troubles of the aristocratic family in the Dragon Kingdom have been eliminated. The Emperor of Sakura Kingdom also heard that the aristocratic family in the Dragon Kingdom had been eliminated, and then he began to prepare to launch the big plan he had been planning for decades. This time, the Yamata no Orokai was used to attract the 2 major communes, and the purpose was naturally to catch them all. As long as these 2 major communes are destroyed, the other communes can be slowly cleaned up. In Yamada Shino's villa, this place has long been requisitioned by the Blue Flower Club, and now the surrounding area is full of people from the Blue Flower Club. In the pavilion in the villa garden, Granny Kinghua looked at Limusa standing in front of her and said somewhat reproachfully, "Didn't Grandma tell you not to run around? Don't you know it's dangerous outside? Let's just run around. Where are you going? Do you have to come to Honshu City?" Limusa hugged Grandma Kinghua's arm and said coquettishly, "Grandma, it's boring to stay at home alone. I came here specially to accompany you. Are you happy?" Granny Kinghua glared at her and said angrily, "Accompany me? Then tell me what you are doing at the Heffen Hotel." Hearing this, Limusa lowered his head and bit his lips and said, I, by the way, I went to play with my friend Michiko." "Humph, you still dare to lie to me? Do you think you went to see that man from the Dragon Kingdom named Suren?" "Ah, you know this too?" After Limusa finished speaking, he quickly covered his mouth, realizing that he seemed to have let something slip. "As expected, you went to find him. I tell you, you are not allowed to go to him again in the future, otherwise I will put you in confinement for a month." Looking at Granny Kinghua, who suddenly got angry, Limusa said with some confusion, "But Grandma, aren't you from the Dragon Kingdom yourself? Why don't you let me see him?" Grandma Kinghua heard this and said coldly, "I said, you are not allowed to see him, there is no reason. Remember, no one in the Su family is good. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 283. Today is Suren's 4th day in Sakura Country, and it is said that tonight is also the night when the Yamata no Orokai will appear in Yamanaka Lake. When it got dark, Suren had already left the city and waited by the mountain lake. The moon is very round and bright tonight. With the help of the moon's light and the sharp eyes of professionals, we can see everything under the night sky clearly. The traces of the explosion a few days ago around Yamanaka Lake were still so conspicuous. At this time, there was no one else around except Suren. Of course, it is impossible for anyone else to dare to go out of the city at night. Suren randomly chose a seat by the lake and sat down, waiting for Yamata no Orokai to appear. I don't know how long it took, but Suren was about to fall asleep. Suddenly, the water surface fluctuated. First, countless bubbles emerged from the bottom of the water, and then a sound like a dragon's roar sounded in the lake. At this time, the bottom of the water began to roll continuously, like boiling hot water. Boom! There was an explosion on the water surface, and a big snake with 8 heads jumped out of the water and roared upwards to the sky above the lake. Wisps of white moonlight poured into its 8 heads like water. If you look closely, you will see that there are two pink dragon horns on the top of each snake head that are slowly growing. This is a sign of turning into a dragon. Suren originally wanted to check its information, but it was shown that the other party was a pet animal and could not be checked without the owner's consent. This confused Suren. Pet beast? Yamata no Orokai is someone else's pet? Then why is the Yamata no Orokai still placed here, and could it be that the rumor that the Yamata no Orokai will come out on a full moon night was released by his master? If this is the case, then why did the owner of Yamata no Orokai do this? Suren thought for a while, and the only result of doing this was to attract countless professionals. It is very likely that this is a conspiracy customized by the owner of Yamata no Orokai, but he just doesn't know what the other party wants to do. But no matter what the other party wanted to do, it had nothing to do with Suren. It was just his bad luck that he met him. No matter how the other party calculates, they will not calculate that anyone will be able to leave the city until late at night. Suren took out his knife and wanted to kill it with one strike and get the scales, but at this time the Ice Dragon King in the pet space said, "Master, if you don't wait any longer, it won't be able to escape your grasp anyway. Kill it after it has successfully transformed into a dragon." Why? Suren was puzzled. He was neither short of money nor equipment. Completing the evolution of Yamata no Orokai is nothing more than getting more benefits, but this means nothing to him. The Ice Dragon King felt aggrieved when he heard this and said, "Master, have you forgotten that I still need one dragon crystal to evolve? If it can successfully transform into a dragon, then I can evolve into a divine beast." After listening to the Ice Dragon King's explanation, Suren remembered that it was still a semi-divine beast. As for dragon crystal, it can be said that it is something that can be encountered but cannot be sought. After all, there are so many dragons in the world for him to kill. If the Yamata no Orokai can successfully transform into a dragon, it is indeed possible to kill it and obtain the dragon crystal. Suren put away the knife and quietly watched the Yamata no Orokai absorbing the essence of the moon in the air. At this time, many professionals in Honshu City were not sleeping either. Some were standing on top of tall buildings, while others were sitting on their flying pets, staring intently in the direction of Yamanaka Lake. They didn't dare to go out of the city, but that didn't stop them from looking outside the city. Looking at the blurry figure, everyone roared in surprise. The legend is true, Yamata no Orokai will indeed appear tonight. I heard that it will not leave tonight. It will continue to absorb the essence of the moon, and then it will continue to absorb the essence of the sun in the morning to neutralize the energy in its body. We just need to rush over at dawn and take the opportunity to kill it. I wonder if we can produce a magical weapon. If we produce a magical weapon, we will be rich. Don't talk about artifacts, any material on it is priceless. Countless people looked at the Yamata no Orokai greedily. If they couldn't leave the city at night, they would have killed it now. Although there are still several hours before dawn, no one can sleep tonight. Everyone is waiting at the city gate, waiting to be the first to rush out of the city at dawn. In a wide square to the east of the city gate, people from Shuiyu society occupied this place, while others could only crowd in the distance and dare not pass by. The remaining 4 generals of Shuiyu society and their president Shuiyu Wu were sitting in a large tent. "President, we have checked. The boy left the hotel in the evening and didn't know where he went. Our people checked for a long time and couldn't find him. I guess he knew you were coming and didn't dare to show his face and hid. Humph, that person from the Dragon Kingdom is just a coward. He must know that, President, you were in seclusion a few days ago, so he dared to provoke our Shuiyu society. Now that you are here, President, he can only run away in despair." The 4 generals mocked Suren with every word, but they forgot that they did not dare to trouble Suren when several of their brothers died. Shuiyu sat in the main seat with his eyes closed and listened to the discussions of his men without making any sound. Now he is over 70 years old, but there is not a trace of gray hair on his head, and he is as strong as a man in his 40s. When his 4 men stopped talking, Shui Yuefang slowly opened his eyes and said, "Don't worry about him for now. Yamata no Orokai is the focus of our fight. If the people of the Dragon Kingdom see him tomorrow, don't conflict with him for the time being." Hearing this, the 4 of them asked in confusion, "President, why is this?" Shui Yuo said calmly, "As far as I know, Li Qinghua and I want the same thing. I don't want to affect my only chance of promotion because of that Dragon Kingdom man. That man's strength is by no means simple. If we fight with him and both sides lose, we will only gain the advantage of Li Qinghua, which is really an unwise move. When I get the gall of the Yamata no Orokai, as long as I successfully advance to level 9, I won't be afraid of Li Qinghua or the people from the Dragon Kingdom. When the time comes, I will conquer heaven. Even if it is the Emperor's throne, I can sit on it." Speaking of this, Shui Yuo's eyes flashed with a glint. It is his lifelong dream to unify the Sakura country. The current emperor is a waste who cannot reach the 8th revolution, and he has long had the idea of replacing him. If it weren't for the support of the cabinet minister and the blue and white society in the middle, he would have united with the top 9th level powerhouse in the country to force the palace. But none of this matters anymore. As long as he can turn 9, then under the pressure of 2 top 9th turn experts, the current emperor will have to abdicate if he doesn't want to. No one can stop him anymore. So this is why he didn't get angry when he heard that 4 of his generals had died after he came out of seclusion. The deaths of those people were nothing compared to his entire plan. He only has one purpose now, which is to get the gallbladder of the Yamata no Orokai, and he doesn't care about other things at all. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 284. And inside the city lord's palace. Looking at the Yamata no Orokai absorbing the essence under the bright moon, Yamada Shino, the lord of Honshu Castle, stood on the roof and watched quietly. "You traitors and traitors, tomorrow will be your day of reckoning. It's not in vain that I spent so much effort to seduce you here. Starting from tomorrow, our Sakura Kingdom will also be able to completely resolve its internal troubles like the Dragon Kingdom." Thinking of this, Yamada Shino couldn't help laughing. His plan begins. Inside Yamada Shino's villa. Granny Qinghua looked at the figure of the Yamata no Orokai, with flashes of memories flashing in her eyes. That year she was still a slim little girl with beauty and talent that was envied by countless people. She was still dreaming about a better future. But because of a copy, she got to know the person she hated most in her life. The other party was obsessed with her beauty and pursued her crazily. Under the offensive of sweet words, she agreed to the other party. I thought it was the beginning of happiness, but unexpectedly it turned out to be a nightmare. At the beginning, the two were very close, telling each other that they would stay together for the rest of their lives. But the good times didn't last long. Less than half a year later, the other party proposed to break up, saying that his family asked him to go back and marry a woman from another big family. She begged hard, but what she got in return was the other party's indifference. "Don't be stupid, I'm just playing to see how pretty you are, do you still take it seriously? Don't contact me again. I'm afraid my family will misunderstand me." Listening to those heartless words, her heart was cut like a knife. She didn't even have time to tell the other person that she was pregnant with his flesh and blood. She originally wanted to abort the child in her belly, but then she thought about it. She wanted the other person to pay the price. She wanted his child to kill him personally. So she went to Sakura country and gave birth to the child and raised it by herself. But things didn't go as planned. My child didn't succeed in awakening and was just an ordinary person. How could an ordinary person help her take revenge? In the end, she could only choose to practice on her own in order to seek revenge. After decades of practice, she finally reached the peak of turn 8, but at this time the opponent was already at turn 9. She was unwilling to give in. When she came to Honshu City this time, she had to get the snake gall of Yamata no Orokai to complete 9 turns. If she cannot succeed, she may have no hope of revenge in this life. Subai Feng, just wait for me. I will make you kneel in front of me and admit your mistake to me. Grandma, what are you doing here? A lovely voice woke up Granny King Hua. Granny King Hua turned around and saw her granddaughter Li Musa standing behind her, looking at her in confusion. It turns out to be Musa. Why aren't you sleeping yet? Grandma, I'm looking at the moon. Because Li Musa was not old enough to awaken, he could not see the Yamata no Orokai under the moon. Look at the moon? Then why do you cry when you look at the moon, Grandma? Li Musa raised his head and said strangely. Haha, the moon is a bit dazzling. Musa, go to bed. Do you understand that you are not allowed to leave the city tomorrow? Oh, okay, then can I go to the Japanese-style hotel to play with Michiko? Li Musa asked slyly, rolling his eyes. How could Grandma King Hua not see through her little thoughts? She shook her head and said. I told you, you are not allowed to see that Suren. Besides, he won't stay in the hotel tomorrow, and you won't be able to see him if you go. Grandma King Hua sent people to check Suren's information in the past few days, and unexpectedly learned of Suren's life experience. Although there is a high chance that this person is an imposter, she will never let her granddaughter come into contact with this person. After Li Musa went to bed, Granny King Hua went to the front yard and began to announce tomorrow's action plan to everyone in the King Hua Club. Like Takeshi Suijutsu, her target will naturally only be Yamata no Orokai. The King Hua Club will never get involved in other matters. In a deserted corner of Honshu City, people from the Yagami sect have gathered here. Everyone else is here for Yamata no Orokai, but they are not here for Yamata no Orokai. A man as strong as an ox appeared here carrying a huge sword. When everyone saw this man, they bowed and said, See Lord Duanyu. Duanyu looked at everyone and said in a deep voice. Our goal is to enter Dream City and get the artifact Dream Mirror. Other things have nothing to do with us. Remember, don't mess with that Dragon Kingdom man named Suren. A few days after Duanjing came, he was surprised to find that Suren was here. He thought that Suren knew about the Yeshen cult's plan and came here to snatch their artifacts. Duanyu was so frightened that he immediately sent the news to the leader of the Yeshen cult. The leader of the Night God sect also had a headache after reading the news. Now, because of Suren, the 2 guardians in the sect were seriously injured, and Shadow was also seriously injured. Even he was injured. Now only Duanjing is available. This Suren's ghost has always been there, and he goes wherever they go, which gives the leader of the Yagod sect reason to suspect that there is a traitor in the sect. Otherwise, why would Suren appear at the mission location every time there was a mission in the teaching? The leader of the Yeshen cult thought for a while, and finally cast his doubtful eyes on Shui Dongliu, who was sent to the land of purgatory. Shui Dongliu has had several contacts with Suren, and there is no one else around him who can prove his innocence. It's just that he has no evidence and can't convict him. He can only ask people to guard Shui Dongliu. As for Suren's appearance in Honshu City, the leader of the Yeshen cult could only let Duanyu take advantage of the opportunity to act. The only requirement was to try not to provoke the other party. Just before 6 o'clock in the morning, a bright light suddenly flashed over Honshu Castle. The entire night sky was instantly illuminated. Countless people waiting in the city stood up and looked at the sky. I saw a huge palace city appearing on the originally empty moon. What is that? It looks like a palace. Everyone looked at the palace on the moon in amazement. The Yamata no Orokai, who was absorbing the essence of the moon, was stunned for a moment when he saw this situation. Then a strong suction force instantly sucked Yamata no Orokai into the palace. Damn it, Yamata no Orokai was sucked in. What happened? What the hell is this? Everyone immediately became confused. The purpose of their coming here was to hunt the Yamato no Orokai, but now that the Yamato no Orokai was missing, they were suddenly at a loss. Suren, who was waiting by Yamanaka Lake for the Yamato no Orokai to transform into a dragon, was also stunned for a moment when he saw this. Suren stood up and looked at the palace on the moon and murmured, "Moon Palace? Doesn't Chang'e live in it?" "Master, don't worry about Chang'e, the Yamato no Orokai has run away, hurry up and chase her." The Ice Dragon King was a little anxious, this was the key to it becoming a divine beast. Suren shook his head. "This moon palace is wrong. The moon is outside the sky. How could Yamato no Orokai be sucked to the moon in an instant?" Suren looked towards the lake, and the reflection of the moon palace was reflected on the surface of Shanzhong Lake. At this time, no one knew what was happening. Only Duan Yu from the Night God cult said excitedly, "The dream city in the mirror appears. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife." Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 285. Suren walked around the mountain lake, looked at the moon in the sky, and then looked at the reflection on the lake. Then he picked up a stone and threw it at the moon in the lake. The imaginary splashing of water from the rocks did not happen. When the stone touched the moon in the water, it was as if it was sucked in. There was not even a ripple on the water surface. It turns out to be a teleportation array. It seems that this is the entrance. Suren stood on the shore, gathered strength, and jumped over in one step. A dizzy feeling came, and a few seconds later, Suren found himself in a strange world. The sky looks like it has been washed, but it is not blue but white with a bit of transparency. The strangest thing was the ground. Suren lowered his head and found that he was standing on an endless lake. That's right, he just stood on the lake and didn't fall. It can even cause ripples when walking around. Suren squatted down and tried to pick up a handful of water with his hands, but he didn't touch anything, as if he was touching the air. What's strange is that the water surface made ripples like Suren's hand holding the water. Suren once again used the river god's skills to control the water surface, but found that he failed. That can only mean that this is not water, but an illusion. Ice Dragon King. Suren called out the Ice Dragon King and let him fly into the sky with him. Once in the sky, the field of vision becomes wider, but as far as the eye can see, there is nothing but the strangely calm lake surface. Moreover, the entire space was eerily quiet. Apart from the conversation between Suren and the Ice Dragon King, there was not even a sound of wind. "Fly up, as high as you can." The Ice Dragon King carried Suren and flew upwards. He didn't know how long he flew, but he still couldn't see the end of the sky. And the distance between them and the lake didn't seem to change at all. Suren did not believe in evil and let the Ice Dragon King fly back to the lake, and then used the hole drilling skill on the lake. A deep hole instantly appeared on the ground. Suren took back the Ice Dragon Queen and jumped down. But a strange scene happened again. The moment Suren jumped down, his whole body suddenly appeared in the sky above where he was standing just now. Then Suren fell into the hole again and began to repeat the falling process. It was not until Suren removed the hole that he stood on the lake again. "It's interesting. It seems I can only try to draw my sword and kill him." Suren didn't waste any time, took out the magic sword Thousand Blades and slashed at the lake. The sword light cut across the lake and extended to the end of the sky. The entire lake instantly split into a huge crack from the middle like a normal lake. But the bottom is still bottomless. Just after a while, the cracked lake surface merged together again like two masses of lake water. Cut the knife to cut off the water, and the water will flow again. This sentence is enough to describe the scene Suren sees now. Drawing the sword to slash at this strange lake surface was of no use. I can cut them apart, but I can't destroy them. Just when Suren was making various attempts, it was already 6 a.m. outside. The many professionals waiting at the gate of Honshu City had already rushed out at 6 o'clock. Their figures are everywhere in the sky and on the ground, and the dense crowd looks quite spectacular. But the ones who are anxious are the casual and impatient people. Others know that it is useless for these people to go so quickly. Not to mention that the Yamata no Orokai is missing. Even if it is there, it is impossible for them to kill the Yamata no Orokai in a short time. Maybe these people will become food in the mouth of Yamata no Orokai. But it's not that there aren't some powerful people who are anxious. For example, Yamada Shino is very anxious right now. Listening to such mocking words, Yamada Nobuno was not angry, but bowed and said. After the people from Shuiyu society left, Yamada Shino's face immediately darkened. While everyone was laughing at Yamada Shino, Takeshi Suijitsu narrowed his eyes and took a closer look at Yamada Shino. Dogs that bite don't bark. However, this process only lasted less than a few seconds, because there were other people walking out at the city gate. As long as he is allowed to sit on the throne of the emperor, this kind of trash will immediately deprive him of his position as the city lord. After Takeshi Suijitsu finished speaking, all his subordinates laughed. His president completely treated Yamada Shino as a dog. Being laughed at so much, you can still lick your face and thank them. Shuiyu laughed when he heard this. Everyone in Shuiyu society laughed again when they heard this. Either Yamada Shino is really a loser, or he is the kind of person who hides deeply. He had heard the name of Yamada Shino before, but it was not because of how strong the opponent was, but because his reputation as a coward spread throughout the Sakura country. Shuiyu no longer went to see him, but led his men out of the city. Be safe and come back safely. Shuiyu, if I let you be arrogant for a few more days, I will see if you can still be arrogant when you kneel in front of me. Whenever anyone with some ability comes to Honshu Castle, Yamada Shino will wave his tail to greet them. Seeing Takeshi Suijitsu and others approaching, Yamada Nobuno's eyes flashed with an imperceptible glare, and then he quickly put on a smile and greeted them. Yamada Shino's reputation as a coward is truly well deserved. At this time, Suijitsu and everyone in Suijitsu Club also stood up and walked to the door. Seeing Yamada Shino's appearance, Suijitsu shook his head. President Suiyu, are you leaving too? This made him feel that something was not quite right and was not going according to his plan at all. The lord of a big city is like a welcome boy at the gate of the city, which is really embarrassing. Yamada Shino regained his smile and stood at the gate of the city doing his welcome work. Although he was anxious, he still had to pretend to be nonchalant and stand at the gate of the city, nodding and bowing to everyone. But that's normal, because they obviously didn't take Yamada Shino seriously either. After several people looked at Yamada Shino, they quickly ran out of the city with them. Thank you City Lord for your kind words. Keep an eye on the city gate. If I can capture the Yamata no Orokai, if nothing else, I can still give you one of my bones. Thank you, President, for your care. It's good to have a bone. I wish you success and come home victorious. Moreover, Yamada Shino was known as a drunkard and womanizer, which made Takeshi Suijitsu even more disdainful. People passing by couldn't help but shake their heads when they saw this scene. He insulted Yamada Shino like this, but everyone should be angry, but Yamada Shino remained calm and calm. In less than half an hour, almost all the professionals in the city left Honshu City and headed for Yamanakako. When no one was around, several vigorous figures appeared at the city gate with a large number of people. Yamata no Orokai suddenly disappeared, and as the owner of Yamata no Orokai, he could not sense the trace of the other party. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 286. Beside the mountain lake. The area was already crowded with people. Everyone was divided into several camps and stood by the lake, looking at the full moon in the sky that had not yet set. Why is there a palace on this moon? Yes, and I personally saw the Yamata no Orokai being sucked into the palace. The problem now is how to enter the palace. Everyone expressed their opinions one after another. Some people even rode flying beasts towards the moon, but it was obviously useless. Because the moon is outside the sky, no one can go outside the sky without passing through a special teleportation array. There is an invisible barrier at the top of the sky that cuts off the outside world. This is also the reason why many extraterrestrial demons cannot enter Blue Star without breaking through the heavenly barrier. Because only Tianguan in various places has the teleportation array to enter Blue Star. As long as the teleportation array is defended, it is basically impossible for the demon to enter the Blue Star. Of course, a special existence like the blood demon is different from other demons. He can enter the Blue Star by inhabiting the blood of a human body. Just when everyone was at a loss what to do, Duan Yu, who was wrapped in a black robe and mixed in the crowd, signaled to his men. The man immediately understood, squatted down, picked up a stone and threw it towards the reflection of the moon palace above the water. Just like what happened to Suran, the stone disappeared. In fact, others had already tried this method, but they did not hit the reflection of the moon palace, but threw it aside. The result was naturally a ripple. Seeing the stone thrown by this man disappear, some smart people reacted immediately. "Brother, may I ask who threw the stone just now?" Someone asks Yang Duanjing's men. "Yes, I just tried it." In my opinion, the moon palace reflected in the water is most likely the entrance to the teleportation. And when entering the teleportation entrance, there must be no water waves around it. Also, it's almost dawn. When the sun rises and the moon sets, maybe this teleportation portal will disappear. Everyone listened to what he said clearly, and many people nodded secretly. Although I don't know how this person can see so many things, since someone has proposed a method, someone will naturally practice the certification. Shui Yuo was the first one who couldn't sit still and pointed at one of his men casually and said, "You, go and try to see if what he said is true or false." The person pointed by Shui Yuo nodded, gathered strength and jumped up from the water's edge, falling steadily into the reflection of the moon palace. Disappeared. What that person said is true. The reflection of the moon palace on the lake is actually the teleportation entrance. I just don't know what's in it. A small world or a copy of the secret realm. Never mind it, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. I'll go first. Someone couldn't wait any longer and jumped over to the second one. Seeing the second person disappearing on the lake, everyone became a little anxious. But at this moment, Shui Yuo stood up and shocked everyone with a loud voice. "Everyone, stop here, my people from Shuiyu society come first." "Haha, Shui Yuo, have you forgotten me?" Granny Blue and White walked out with a cane. "Who did I think it was? It turned out to be you. It's almost dawn. Let's do this. Let's not waste time. How about our Shuiyu club and your Blue Flower club take turns entering? If you don't want to, I will destroy the calmness of the water and no one of us can get in." "Haha, okay." Granny Qinghua nodded. As for the other people present, Shui Yuo had no intention of seeking their opinions. Others naturally dare not speak out in anger. After all, if these two families join forces, they can overthrow the current rule of His Majesty the Emperor. They were soft-spoken and did not dare to provoke these two families. The two families arranged the order of entry and began to enter in an orderly manner. By the time everyone from the two families entered, the sun had slowly risen and the reflection on the lake had become shallower. Seeing this scene, everyone knew that what the man just said was most likely true. This teleportation portal will disappear after the sun fully rises. Now everyone had to rush in and jump in. Fortunately, the lake is wide and not crowded. "Sir, When will we go in? The people from the night god cult looked at Duanyu and asked. No rush, just wait a little longer. Yamada Shino did not tell them that there was still this link. The reflection in the lake is almost gone. Duanyu glanced at the few people around him again and confirmed that Suren was not here. The people from the night god cult said a little anxiously. Sir, we can't wait any longer. The moon's light was also completely blocked by the sun's rays, and the reflection of the moon palace in the mountain and lake disappeared. When they come out, they will naturally be trapped in the formation. When everyone heard it, it made some sense. At this time, the sky began to brighten and the moon slowly disappeared. Everyone must have a place at the celebration banquet. After a few more minutes, the originally bustling Yamanaka lake became quiet. The proud old man looked at the calm lake and asked. Duanyu stared at the people jumping into the lake and said in a deep voice. Duanyu waved his hand and led the people of the night god cult into the reflection. Duanyu looked around strangely. He had not seen Suren since he arrived here. Yamada-kun, is this your plan too? What a great idea! I will immediately report it to your majesty and ask your majesty to send more men to quickly set up the formation. Then we will use the advantage of numbers and formation to kill them. Oh? Tell me. Yamada Shino glanced at the surrounding terrain, then smiled lightly and said. Now that all these people have entered that small world, it is a good time to set up the formation. It is usually difficult to bring people into the formation. Yamada Shino nodded, then laughed loudly and said. When the time comes, great things will be accomplished. It should be like this. His absence makes me feel more at ease. We set up dozens of killing and trapping formations around us, and then concentrated our firepower to kill Shueiyuo and Li Qinghua first, and then kill the others separately. This method seems to be more effective than using the power of Yamata no Orokai. Sir, how about we catch turtles in an urn? At this time, a group of people walked out of the dense forest by the lake, and the leader was Yamada Shino. No matter where they go, assuming they enter a small secret world, they will definitely come out at some point. Originally, we were going to use the power of the Yamata no Orokai to transform into a dragon to deal with them. Now we have changed to a formation that will have the same effect. No, this thing appeared suddenly, and I don't know what it is. Yamata no Orokai has now lost contact with me. We have to change our plan. Walk. Is he just passing through Honshu City? Powerful killing and trapping formations take time to set up and are easily discovered. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 287. In an unknown small world. The people who came in were scattered to various places, and they also encountered the same problem as Suren. There is no entrance or exit to this place, just a strange lake with no end in sight. Here, everyone seems to have lost the sense of time. I don't know how long it took, but countless people fell on the lake in despair. They had long lost the excitement they had when they first came in, and now all that was left was regret and fear. Who can tell me what the hell this place is? Are we going to be trapped here for the rest of our lives? If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have come in. Someone was attacking the lake crazily with weapons, but except for ripples, there was nothing else. This made him completely despair. Just when everyone didn't know what to do, an ethereal voice sounded in everyone's ears. Welcome to my dream city. Next, my children will play with you. Those who survive successfully will enter the second test I give you. Those who pass all tests will be able to accept my inheritance. Come on, everyone, I'm waiting for your arrival in Dream City. After the ethereal voice finished speaking, it disappeared completely. Who are you? What kind of test? Hey, what do you want to do by locking us here? No matter how much everyone shouted, the other party still didn't reply a word. Who the hell is that person who just spoke? She said there will be some children to play with us soon. What does that mean? We are still allowed to survive. Could it be that the so-called child is some kind of monster? Just as everyone was speculating, someone suddenly exclaimed, "There's something under the lake." Others who were close looked down and said strangely, "There's nothing. What the hell is your name, a sea?" There's something really there." A black thing rushed past quickly. Roar. Just as everyone looked down the lake, a huge abyss mouth tens of meters wide swallowed the people looking at it. Several people were caught off guard and were swallowed before they could escape. Others in the distance froze in fear. What the hell is this? Someone opened the message and took a look. Spirit in the mirror abyssal whale, special. Level, 900. Physical attack power, 9 million. Magic attack power, 100,000. HP, 5 million. Physical defense/magic defense, 10,000/10,000. Skills, swallowing, tail wagging, howling. Explanation: the spirit in the mirror is an invisible body. It will only reveal its true form when it howls. You can take this opportunity to attack. After reading the information, someone was shocked and said, "Level 900. Why the hell is there a level 900 monster?" However, some people took a closer look at the information. Although this abyssal whale has explosive physical attack power, its HP and defense are extremely low. As long as they could avoid its swallowing and tail wagging, and wait for it to howl before attacking, they could easily kill it. Everyone, be careful, go to the sky and don't stay on the lake. If there is no flying pet, share it with others. Let's find an opportunity to kill it. With someone organized, it was naturally much simpler. They found that the abyssal whale could not jump too far from the lake. As long as they fly high enough, the abyssal whale can't do anything to them. The abyssal whale seemed to have discovered this, so it chose to stick its head out of the water. It opened its mouth wide and started to activate its skill howl. The harsh sound waves shook everyone's eardrums in the air, and then a status prompt appeared in front of everyone. You are affected by the howl and your nerves are temporarily paralyzed for 5 seconds. Everyone who originally wanted to take this opportunity to attack the abyssal whale found that the flying beast under their feet was falling to the lake. Their pets were also affected. The abyssal whale stopped shouting, opened its huge mouth and swallowed the people who fell down. Everyone who was lucky enough not to be swallowed up immediately finally understood why the abyssal whale could be attacked when it howled. This period of time is the opponent's control time, and he cannot attack at all. Unless it flies outside its sonic range, it is too far away to attack. They can now either kill these falcons one by one, or fly below to face the abyssal whale, which has almost no weaknesses. Physical defense/magic defense, 100,000/100,000. While everyone was still complaining, they felt a black shadow pass above their heads. Magic attack power, 50,000. Now there are abyssal whales waiting under the lake, and there are more than one, but there are one waiting at intervals under the lake. Physical attack power, 80,000. But only half an hour had passed, and out of the 100,000 people, 10,000 to 20,000 had been killed by the two monsters. But even if they are prepared, many people will die at the mouth of the abyss whale. They could only gamble that they could react faster than the abyssal whale and avoid its bloody mouth before it swallowed them. I thought it would be safer to fly higher up there, but now hundreds of thousands of falcons have arrived. But since you can't kill, why can't you hide? Anyway, the ethereal voice didn't say that he wanted to kill the monster. Just hearing a scream, the man was eaten clean by many falcons, not even a bone was left. While they were complaining, someone had already been captured by the falcon. Looking at this horrific scene, everyone was so frightened that they broke out in cold sweat. Level 500. Can this kill you all? However, the distance was too far and everyone was out of its attack range. More people chose to descend to the lake. The number of falcons was too great for them to handle. Damn it, why are there so many monsters? Are you kidding me? There are probably hundreds of thousands of them in this dense crowd. You want me to kill them with a single target skill? Ghost in the Mirror Falcon, Special. When he raised his head to check, his face turned pale. This is a choice, because some people have discovered that when they descend to a height where the abyssal whale can attack, the falcon will stop attacking them. After reading the information, everyone exclaimed. What the hell, that person didn't want us to resist, she just wanted us to be chased by this thing. What a bullshit test, I think she wants our lives. At least nearly 100,000 professionals came in. I saw densely packed flying monsters on the horizon shooting towards everyone. Skills, immunity to group damage, Iron Claw, Wing Slash. HP, 5 million. This doesn't give them a way to survive at all. This seems to be a dead end. This forces them to make a choice. Explanation: the spirit in the mirror is immune to group damage and can be killed with single target skill attacks. The survivors flew high into the sky on the flying beasts, and the abyssal whale howled again when it saw this. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author: How Like the Human World. Chapter 288. It's not just the stragglers who are being hunted. Even a big force like Shuiyu society was struggling to survive under the leadership of Shuiyu Wu. Why are even Shikigami shocked by the howl of the abyssal whale? They originally wanted to try to summon the Shikigami and kill the abyssal whale while it was howling. As a result, the howl of that thing can not only shock the Shikigami, but also the warriors who are immune to the control of the hegemonic state. There is absolutely no way to deal with it. The only way is to fly high into the sky or rely on reaction speed to dodge. Shuiyu and his 4 generals were strong, and they seemed to be able to avoid the abyssal whale's attack with ease. It's just that the rest of the Shuiyu society is in dire straits. They can't go in the air. No one dares to face the group of falcons who are immune to group damage. Naturally, they can only stay on the lake. The abyssal whale is like eating a buffet, and every swallow can take away several lives. Shuiyu Wukong was filled with anger but had nowhere to vent it. He could only watch his men die before his eyes. He didn't dare go to save him. If he went to save him, he would die. When will this test end? Shuiyu looked up to the sky and roared. No one responded to him. What responded to him was the cry of the densely packed flock of falcons waiting high in the sky. Somewhere high in the sky, a group of falcons surrounded a group of people and were attacking them non-stop. However, after the man in the field went crazy, his body became several feet tall, and each swing of the giant sword in his hand could take away several falcons. This person is Duan Jing of the Night God cult. As a top level 9 expert, it is indeed not difficult to deal with these level 500 falcons. The most important thing is that he has cultivated physical strength, and his attack and defense are amazing. Even if the group damage cannot kill these falcons, the single target damage is enough. Other members of the Night God cult gathered around him to clean up some fish that had slipped through the net, but there was no danger. But as time went by, even the toughest man couldn't keep slashing. These falcons seemed to be endlessly killing them. There were countless falcons surrounding them at any time. Even Duan Yu couldn't help but frown. There are too many of these things, and I am the only one who dares to deal with them at this high altitude. When will this so-called test end? The mission this time was to get the artifact Dream Mirror, but so far, let alone the artifact, he hadn't even seen a mirror. Sir, will you be able to get the Dream Mirror after passing the test? Duan Yu nodded when he heard this. It's possible. But this first round of testing was so abnormal, I just don't know what the second round will be like. Sir, you are a top rank 9 expert. No one in this secret realm can be your opponent. No matter what the test is, you will definitely have the last laugh. Listening to the compliments from his men, Duan smiled. That makes sense. A corner of the secret realm. Suren came in first, and there was no one else around. After hearing the sound, Suren stood up from the lake. In fact, Suren heard the warning before the voice notified everyone to prepare for the test. If you attack the lake again, the entire space will collapse and you won't survive. I will arrange a test. As long as you can pass it, I can give you everything you want and let you go. Suren tried using the wormhole, but he couldn't get out. It seemed that the space inside had been blocked and he could only travel within this space. If the space collapsed, his imperfect blocking would not be able to save his life. Seeing this situation, Suren directly made a condition. He wanted Yamata no Orokai to transform into a dragon. The rest would depend on the situation. Suren knew that the Yamata no Orokai must be in her hands, but she didn't know what she was doing with the Yamata no Orokai. The voice simply responded with okay and stopped making any sound. And her actions also told Suren a message. Suren's sword attack seemed to have no harm to the lake, but it actually had an impact. Otherwise, the other party would not come forward to warn him. When the abyssal whale appeared, Suren used the wormhole to hide. However, after seeing the other party's information, Suren gave up the idea of attacking it. The invisible body, there is really no way to deal with it. Like everyone else's choice, Suren summoned the Ice Dragon King and flew into the air. The abyssal whale howled immediately, and even the Ice Dragon King was shocked and fell down. But after one bite, the Ice Dragon King launched his defense and lost less than 2 million blood. This is nothing compared to its 90 million blood. But the Ice Dragon King definitely couldn't bear it if it continued like this. Suren let it fly high into the sky. Just when he thought it was safe, he also encountered the falcon, which was a headache for others. However, these so-called group damage immune falcons do not have such good luck when encountering Suren. Seeing that they were solid, Suren smiled slightly, and with just one stroke of his sword, the falcons surrounding Suren fell to the ground like dumplings. The immunity to group damage is just their rules. Suren's drawing of the sword ignores their rules and only follows his own rules. Watch the swarms of falcons fall downwards as they fall into position. The abyssal whales waiting under the lake all opened their mouths wide and howled. They don't care whether it is a dead thing or not, as long as there is something in the air, they will attack within the range of their howling. When Suren saw this, his eyes lit up. I never thought there would be such an opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. When the abyssal whales howled and revealed their true bodies, Suren slashed them from a distance. With another simple blow, the howling abyssal whales were immediately cut into several pieces and slowly sank. Snort. A cold snort sounded in the void. Suren looked up and saw nothing. Hey, I know you are listening and watching. Stop playing these useless tricks with me and hand over the Yamata no Orokai. Then I leave here and we don't offend the river. What do you think? Human, are you threatening me? Suren shook his head. A threat, you can think so, I just don't want to waste everyone's time. Humph, just wait, there is still a second round of tests, I don't believe I can't cure you. After all the good words, you really can't get enough of me. Don't blame me for being cruel if you lose your temper when the time comes. Suren waited for a while, but didn't see a reply from the other party. He was probably very angry, maybe sulking somewhere. Hey, by the way, according to what she said, others should have come in to see how those people are doing now. Suren thought of this and slapped the dragon's head. Let's go, I'm bored anyway, let's go see if the others are alive and well, and collect some protection money by the way. You can make that voice unhappy and you can make money, so why not? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 289. Suren chose a random direction and flew away, but not long after flying, the ethereal voice sounded again in the void. The first round of tests is over. Those who are still alive congratulate you for entering the second round of tests. As the sound rang out, the falcon in the sky and the abyssal whale at the bottom of the lake disappeared instantly. Hearing this voice, Suren's head was filled with questions. He seriously suspected that this guy did it on purpose, just to prevent himself from making money. But when the others heard this, they looked at the disappeared abyssal whale and falcon, and couldn't help but sit on the ground with lingering fear. What kind of test is this? If you are not careful, you will lose your life here. This is completely risking your life. If they could, they would quit right away. It had only been a short time since they came in, and at least 30% or more of the people around them were dead. Please let me out. I won't take part in the test. I don't want anything. I beg you. Some people collapsed and knelt on the ground, constantly begging for mercy. Normally, this behavior would have been ridiculed, but now, the people around him only had a sad look in their eyes. If begging for mercy is really useful, they will not hesitate to kneel down and beg for mercy. Only by personally experiencing the whale's mouth escape just now can we understand the preciousness of life. They were really scared. However, the voice did not reply, obviously not ready to let him go. The man was desperate and no longer knelt down to beg for mercy. Instead, he stood up and pointed at the sky and cursed. Bitch, don't you want a test? Come on. If you can, just kill me. I'm not afraid of you. But no matter how abusive he was, the voice remained unmoved. When he was tired of scolding, the voice sounded again. There are still 30 minutes left before the second test starts. Please make final preparations. Hearing this sound, everyone who survived started talking. I don't know what this second round of test is about. No matter what the test is, judging from the situation in the first round, it is definitely not an easy test. It is estimated that many people will die this time. I don't know if we can get out alive. The Yamata no Orokai didn't see us, and now our lives are at stake. Within a corner of space. Some people are already giving their last words. Third brother, no matter who of us is alive, we must take good care of our parents. Brother, I'm scared. In this situation, there are many people in this space, and most of the people who come in are friends or relatives who form a team. He saw his friends and relatives dying in front of him, but he was powerless to do anything. That feeling was even worse than killing them. But they didn't even know whether they could survive the next round of tests, so after a short period of sadness, they could only tell their last words in advance. Because no one knows who will die next. The atmosphere of fear and despair spread in the space, and even the people in the two major communes felt powerless at this time. Shui Wu looked at the people in his Shui Yu society. They originally brought thousands of elites in, but now there were only a few hundred left. Even if he is close to rank 9, he can't protect others. President, if this continues, our Shui Yu society will lose its strength. The four generals beside Shui Yu said anxiously. If they continue to die, they will become bear commanders. You think of a way. Where am I going to find a solution? Shui Yu was also a little angry. The abyssal whale couldn't attack at all, and even he could only dodge. After finally getting through the first test, no one knows what monster will appear next. Don't think about other things now. If our subordinates die, we can recruit them again. If we die, then Shui Yu society will really be finished. No matter what, let's pass the test first. Half an hour passed quickly. While everyone was waiting anxiously, it was finally time for the second round of testing. The second round of the test begins. Next we play a fun game, which is also a game you are familiar with, Wooden Man. The rules of the game are very simple. You should know that I will divide all of you into 4 areas, and each area will be guarded by a wood spirit. You are 500 meters away from the wood spirit. When the wood spirit looks at you, you must remain still. You can only move when the wood spirit turns its head, but your speed cannot exceed 5 meters per second. Exceeding this speed is considered a failure. This game is restricted to air, and the first person to reach the location of the wood spirit is the winner. The top 2,500 people in each area advance to the next round of tests. Remember, except for the rules I mentioned, you can do anything. After hearing the rules, everyone was silent. Wooden people are not difficult for professionals at all, after all, their reaction speed is so fast. It is not easy to avoid being discovered by the wood spirit. However, each area can only advance 2,500 people. This means that only 10,000 of the remaining 60,000 to 70,000 people will die. No one would think that the person who did not advance could still be alive. After all, this thing has never been merciful. Another point is that the limit of 5 meters per second is a very fair rule for everyone. After all, some professions that rely on speed and some cumbersome tank professions have huge advantages in this kind of game. But after limiting the speed, their advantage is gone, which also leaves a glimmer of hope for others. I wonder if it will be discovered if the speed exceeds a little bit. A speed of 5 meters per second can be achieved by any professional. Does this mean that everyone arrives together? After all, a low-level game like Wooden Man cannot be difficult for us. But how do we determine who will arrive first? I don't think it can be that simple. Everyone discussed the rules of this test. Since there was no way to escape, they could only find ways to deal with it. No one wants to be someone other than those 2,500 people, whether they are dead Taoists or poor Taoists. At this time, someone said quietly, "If someone is really ahead, do you think he can really reach the finish line first?" "Brother, what do you mean?" someone wondered. The man shook his head. In the face of life and death, people's hearts are unpredictable. Don't forget that the voice said that except for the rules she said, she will not care about the rest. As soon as these words came out, everyone shut up and glanced at the people around them. The meaning is very clear. Apart from the rules themselves, the biggest danger may come from themselves. With tens of thousands of people crowded together in each area, who would be willing to be a loser? If someone who is lagging behind launches a sneak attack from behind. Everyone originally thought that this test was just a test of reaction speed. In the end, I discovered that this was not a test of reaction speed at all, but a test of people's hearts. Maybe, even 2,500 people may not be able to gather together. You should all know the rules, right? Now, the second round of testing begins. As the voice fell, the world changed, and everyone was forced to move into 4 separated areas. I changed my profession and became a concept god, shocking the world with one knife. Author, How Like the Human World. Chapter 290. There was a red line under everyone's feet, blocking their progress. 500 meters opposite them, a puppet tens of meters tall was standing there with them on its back. This distance is actually very short for them, but in today's game, this distance is definitely very long for them. This is a race against life. The game hasn't even started yet, and there's already a fight over who gets to stand next to the red line. After all, whoever grabs the position at the red line first can also gain a little distance advantage in the huge crowd. I'll give you 10 minutes to prepare. The time is over and the game begins. This sound was now like a reminder, and a chaotic battle suddenly broke out in the crowd. "Go away, I will kill anyone who dares to come near me." One man stood behind the red line with his sword drawn and stood arrogantly. This was the closest distance to the wood spirit. The entire space is square, with invisible air walls on both sides, and a straight red line connecting the two walls. The red line is a full 500 meters long, but it is definitely not enough to accommodate tens of thousands of people. If one person occupies half a meter of distance, at most 1,000 people can stand behind the red line at the same time. Therefore, these 1,000 positions have become the object of competition for everyone, and no one wants to fall behind even half a meter. One step behind, every step behind, they must seize the opportunity to have a chance to survive. But if you want to grab the best position, strength is currently the most important thing. The game hasn't started yet, and it's not a dead end yet, so most powerful people can grab the best position. Others didn't dare to compete with them, so they could only retreat and grab the position behind them. After layers of screening, the most powerful people get the best positions, and the next best people get the next best positions. As for the weakest people who are not united, they can only stand at the back of the crowd. At this time, no one will be humble anymore. On Suren's side, he stood still and did not move, and the voice did not use its power to capture him into the 4 areas with wood spirits. It seemed that she had forgotten Suren. What do you mean? How could you forget me? I want to play with wooden figures too. Suren was very unhappy. If you don't call him when playing games, is it looking down on others? Seeing that the voice ignored him, Suren took out his knife and gestured, threatening. Hurry up and let me play too, or I'll chop it up. You. The voice finally sounded, and he said helplessly. Okay, I'll let you play. The other party's originally calm tone seemed to have a hint of anger because of Suren's threat. But she still didn't drag Suren into those 4 areas. Instead, he summoned a wooden spirit alone and appeared 500 meters away from Suren. Go and play by yourself. The voice stopped talking after speaking. Suren summoned the Ice Dragon King, Steel, and a bunch of strange pet beasts. Steel glanced at it and complained silently in his heart. How childish! At this time Suren looked at the pet beasts and said, I have nothing to do today, let's play something fun. If you don't want to play, you can go back to the pet space now. Master, I want to play. Steel was the first to raise his hand, and Suren was very pleased to see his interest. Ahem, okay, whoever reaches the finish line first, I can reward it by going out and playing alone for a week. Upon hearing this, the Ice Dragon King was the first to stand next to the red line at his feet. Master, I'm ready. There's no pressure on it at all. Those stupid beasts such as sand, stone, and wood pose no threat at all. The nightmare can't come out now, and the only one who poses a threat is Steel. Thinking of this, the Ice Dragon King tilted his head and looked at Steel, who was also standing behind the red line on the other side. Little Hiza, what do you mean? Seeing the Ice Dragon King staring at him, Steel shrank his head and took a step back consciously. The Ice Dragon King nodded with satisfaction. After waiting for 10 minutes, the voice sounded. Game start. The Ice Dragon King rushed out like a wind and appeared beside the wood spirit in less than a second. Get back here, didn't you hear the rule says it can't exceed 5 meters per second? Suren shouted and called the Ice Dragon King back. Stupid dragon, if you want to be with that group of people, you might already be a dead dragon. Within 4 areas. As the game started, everyone couldn't wait to rush forward, but they did not dare to challenge the rules at will and strictly abided by the speed of 5 meters per second. However, as time and distance changed, those who were lagging behind finally couldn't help but increase their speed a little. Just for a moment, a thunderbolt struck from the sky. Boom! The speeding person was instantly electrocuted into charcoal. This also completely cuts off other people's thoughts of speeding. It's just that the people in front don't panic, but the people behind can't sit still. Halfway through the race, someone finally took action against the person in front. 1, 2, 3 wooden people, don't move. A mechanical sound sounded. Before the person who made the move could reach the front, Mu Ling's face had already turned around. At this time, the other person was in a forward posture and could no longer remain still. Another lightning strike fell accurately, and the man was killed directly. Mu Ling turned his head, and everyone hurried forward when they saw this. However, the wood spirit turned its head and did not stop at all. Instead, it quickly turned back in the direction of rotation. Fortunately, professionals react quickly. If it were an ordinary person, not even one of them would survive at such a fast speed. But even among professionals, if they were played like this, several people would be killed by the lightning before they could stop. So far, no one who breaks the rules can survive. There are also people who want to use defensive equipment to resist the thunder after discovering that they have violated the rules, but the result is also a dead end. This thunder makes no sense at all. Next, the wood spirit will not move for 5 seconds. An ethereal voice sounded. As soon as these words came out, the crowd immediately exploded. These 5 seconds were definitely not kindness on her part, but cruelty. Because everyone knows that a war will break out in these 5 seconds. Sure enough, after the sound sounded, some people who were lagging behind had already started to take action. Most of the people who are leading will only protect themselves at this time and will not take the initiative to attack others, while those who are lagging behind choose to form a group and besiege one person. If they don't form a group, they will die. The war is about to break out. Different from the 4 major areas, Suren was walking leisurely here. 1, 2, 3 wooden people, don't move. Mu Ling's head turned around, Suren was still walking forward. Seeing this, Suren smiled slightly and said, "You moved, I caught you." Keng. A sword slashed out, and the wood spirit was cut in half. The Ice Dragon King turned his head to look at Suren and cried out sadly. "Master, I don't want you to play games like this. Why should you abide by the rules?